Thinking Fast and Non-Sequential. In that book that people love to quote from, Daniel Kahneman describes at length the difficulties we have as human beings in performing multiple cognitive tasks concurrently. His book, Thinking Fast and Slow, concentrates primarily on describing the difference between what he called System 1 and System 2 thinking. For brevity's sake, let's call System 1 the intuitive and/or routine, whereas System 2 requires non-reflexive cerebral faculties. Kahneman gives examples on why we should not drive and try to solve calculation problems at the same time. Mr. Kahneman was never in the car with me. I can't even hold a conversation and get us to where we need to go at the same time. A guaranteed disaster. The author continues to describe why we need to break down whatever we're working on down to smaller tasks so that we can understand them, follow them, know what comes first, and hold an overview of what we are doing. That's all good news within a world that is linear in nature. We have been trained to think linear. We feel comfortable in that step 1, step 2, step 3 world. Without sequential processes or those things that we do one after another, I know I would be lost and would even go to say that those who prefer a simultaneous approach, working on numerous tasks all at the same time, appear to me that they are never really finished. I have just reached an epiphany, and I confess to my past sins. Our world is made up of ecosystems. Those systems are made up of a collection of semi-linear constructs that are taking place simultaneously. And the causal effect, many we don't even realize, lead us to the conclusion that all problems are wicked. Within his premise tied to System 1 and System 2 thinking, Daniel Kahneman does not perform a judgment tied to which one is better, and in fact argues that many activities are perfectly managed through the routine. My realization is that system thinking is all about performing a number of sequential activities in a spontaneous manner. And the key for such models to work is in our ability to continuously evaluate, either consciously or subconsciously, whether the approach being applied, that being intuitive or the cognitive, is fit for purpose. I would argue that spontaneous is the ability to act in an adaptive way, and the capabilities required to properly execute such activities are based upon the plethora of canned routines. Yes, those routines should be continuously questioned. If those routines are not effective, we should toss them overboard. Do our routines create a false sense of comfort? Look around you. We set up rules that are not required because our routines would not work otherwise. Up till now, I've only been describing a reflection of one's individual approach and would argue that we need to better understand and consciously evaluate our own mental models before we can better evaluate how they best work within a group effort. Let me make the invisible visible and describe what it possibly could mean to you, and you can apply some of these principles on your own. Nothing is ever really in a straight line or linear, but we as human beings have a basic need to package as much as what we can do into such structures. Routines have everything to do with how we anticipate how such things will turn out, risk management, and act accordingly. Collections of people need routine, even more, and those routines are represented as norms within our society. Those norms, think habits or routines, change when our values change. We change our norms to match our values. If we perform these routines without thinking whether the results are effective, then the completion of the routine is the only desired outcome and could be devoid of value. I promise you the what can you do part, and so here it comes. Take time to reflect on what you are trying to achieve and whether the approach you are taking fulfills the desired outcome. Create an atmosphere of open and effective dialogue to collectively perform this exercise. This is the why we do what we do part of any governance put together. In spite of everything that you've picked up from me so far, routines are essential. Just make sure you know why you have them, either individually or collectively. Dealing with things that are repeatable should become part of a routine. Discussing repeatable manners over and over again clearly bring no value. How many times do you need to perform new activities before they become routine, and you don't have to think about them? I would argue that a good team continuously strives to reach this level. Develop structures where routines are periodically questioned, where value is generated, and concentrate on how we, as both individuals and groups, remain adaptive. Predictive for prediction's sake brings no value and is simply a waste.